there, and welcome back to the Cinema Asylum podcast. My name's Dyllan, one of the two superhero and sci-fi experts.
I'm Matthew, the other superhero and sci-fi expert.
I'm Garrett, the Indian drama expert.
And today we are reviewing The Electric State, which just came out on Netflix.
Directed by the Russo Brothers.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah. So they've directed 2 Netflix movies. The first one was The Gray Man. Well, they've directed 3 movies since Endgame. They directed Cherry, which was for Apple TV. Then they did Gray Man for Netflix, and now their third venture with Netflix is this one, Electric State.
Do you think it should have been their Endgame?
Just wait. Just wait.
I think it should have been their Doomsday.
Garrett is currently waging a secret war.
Very true. Very true.
I think there's about to be a civil war.
Shut up.
If John was here, then yes.
Come on,
I wonder if John's seen this movie yet.
Probably not yet, but he probably will within like the next week or so.
Because he was going to be gone like the last 5 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, I think he was leaving.
Yeah, I could see this being
I'm very
totally up his
curious
alley
to
for
hear
him.
what he thinks when he does watch this.
Want to go ahead and start? Wait. Just let's get this out of the way. Spoiler alert, just in
Yes.
case.
In case you care.
We're within 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but go ahead, Garrett, start us off.
So the premise. So this is based on a book, or is this a
Comic
series?
book.
It's a comic book.
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was just a book.
Yes.
Because that makes sense because with all the now that the movie's been out,
Swedish comic book, actually.
Oh, it's Swedish.
Oh yeah,
I know nothing about the source material at all. But I have been seeing a lot of the illustrations from it.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
gorgeous illustrations. So the plot, the premise of the movie is that this takes place in the 90s. It follows Millie, Bobbie Brown's character, who plays Michelle, and there's this. The setup is that there's this gigantic war with robots going on, and
Sound familiar?
yeah. So the humans, well, they kind of are at a stalemate with the robots. The humans are. And they get to the point where they separate each other. Well, they integrate a lot. The humans integrate a lot of the technology using what's called a neurocaster. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
this
a
machine,
VR helmet, essentially.
a VR helmet that basically takes control of whatever robot you assign it to. Yeah. Just bear with me here. So Michelle finds basically her brother, whose name is Christopher. He goes missing, and he's presumed dead. But Michelle one night finds this robot outside of her house. What's the robot called? Is it
Cosmo?
Yeah, Cosmo.
Yeah. It's this big yellow head, very smiley face. It's based on this cartoon show that they used to watch.
Very Five Nights at Freddy-esque.
Kinda, yeah. A lot of the robots in this reminded me of Five Nights at Freddy's robots. So
the big cat one.
It's very much kind of the E.T. formula where Michelle is the Elliot in the scenario and this Cosmo robot is the E.T. Cosmo does not speak normally. He speaks using dialogue from this TV show.
Yeah.
And
in a way, it reminds me of Bumblebee in a way.
Yeah,
Kinda, a little bit. So they are off on this adventure because Cosmo is able to communicate that the robot knows where her brother is. So it's basically a hunt to find Christopher, her brother, and along the way they find a bunch of colorful characters, including Chris Pratt, who basically is just doing his Star-Lord thing.
Yeah.
Let's just be perfectly honest there.
Why do I kind of want him as Shaggy in a Scooby-Doo movie?
Oh
no. I'm gonna stop you right there and just say no.
That's a John take.
Is it?
Yes.
It's just the hair. It's just the hair that's doing that. So yeah, basically it's a hunt to find Christopher, and while in the meantime, Center, the organization that's controlling all those Neurocaster things, and is basically trying to exterminate the robot race, who's led by Stanley Tucci, and it's basically a race against time to find Christopher before this organization tries to hunt them down. That's the premise of the movie. To get right into my, I've had a very rough kind of relationship with the Russos since Endgame, because keep in mind, their 4 MCU movies are easily my favorites in the MCU franchise, easily. Winter Soldier, absolute one of the best. Was it? I remember that being a huge surprise when I first saw it in theaters.
That's my favorite MCU movie.
It continues to be just as riveting and awesome as it was. Civil War, also another awesome Captain America movie. I don't really see it as a Captain America movie,
It's
more
Avengers.
Avengers
It's Avengers
2.5.
Yeah.
But still great. Infinity War is my favorite Avengers movie by far. At least number 2 in like my favorite MCU movies. Adore Infinity War. I've seen it God knows how many times. Same with Endgame, which I wouldn't say is as good as Infinity War, but it's still it was a satisfying, completely satisfying ending to that era of the MCU.
Yeah, a lot of great
And it's
payoff.
just
Yeah.
the Russos in that era of the MCU just completely blew it out, knocked it out of the park. Then I saw Cherry, which I had quite a bit of anticipation for. Was extremely disappointed with it. It was just an interesting idea, an interesting story, just completely failed on execution. Just a lot of weird things that just did not gel well in the movie at all. And it was, for me, it was I think it was trying to be Oscar baity, and it just completely fumbled. Then The Gray Man, which was a return to the kind of like action thriller thing that the Russos did very well with Winter Soldier and Civil War. Very bland, in my opinion. Just was another just standard Netflix action movie that just felt more like it belonged like
It was a copy
on
and paste
TV,
movie.
like just generic movie, and that was all it was to me, really.
The drone work
So-
was something.
Yeah. In terms of drone camera work, Michael Bay's Ambulance did it way better.
Yes.
Then
That's
we have.
a really underrated movie.
I really like Ambulance. I'm not the biggest Michael Bay fan, but I do like Ambulance. So with Electric State, it was kind of going back semi to what the Russos were doing with like the Avengers movies. They assembled Marcus and McFeely, who wrote Infinity War and Endgame, which I think was definitely a good choice at the time. And they got Alan Silvestri, who of course did the music for the Avengers movies, and it was, of course, they assembled a lot of their cast from the MCU too, with Chris Pratt, Anthony Mackie, who
Ke-Huy
else?
Quan.
Ke Kwan. So I was perfectly on board with this movie, and I know Netflix movies are not known for being particularly good, but I was interested, and I was more than willing to give them a fair shake with it. This is one of the most boring fucking movies I've watched in a long time. I was struggling to pay attention during this fucking movie. I much like The Gray Man, this movie was just so copy and paste. It was baffling to me, because you have so much talent behind the camera. You have the writers and the directors of 2 of the biggest movies of all time. There's no reason why this film shouldn't have been at least somewhat exciting and engaging. And the fact that it's based on interesting source material, and the entire time I was watching this movie this weekend, I was so bored. I was never engaged right from the opening scene. This has some of the worst dialogue I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking like almost Craven level bad. It was, I was mesmerized, and not in a good way. It was just in a waste of a good cast too. There's people all aboard this movie that I love. Millie Bobby Brown, who I like in Stranger Things. In terms of her movies, though, I have yet to be really impressed.
It's kind of like
because
a cardboard performance. in my opinion.
oh my god,
She was good in Godzilla.
Yeah, she was.
she
alright
was
in
better
it.
in Godzilla than in this.
Yeah.
But she's playing a kind of similar character that she's always been playing.
Yes.
Yeah.
The emotional kind of adventurous girl type who I mean,
She's becoming the Rock for
Yeah.
her type of role.
she's becoming the female Tom Holland is what's happening
Yeah.
with her,
Okay, yeah.
because she keeps getting these similar roles, and she has yet to really break out of it in an exciting way for me. And I like her. I much like Tom Holland. I like him, and I like her, and I want to see them do more interesting things. And I just feel like I am not getting that yet. Chris Pratt, who I usually enjoy very much, even when his movies aren't great. I just felt like he was sleepwalking through this thing, man.
Yeah.
Like,
He
oh
was.
my god, like he is doing a dollar store like Han Solo and Star-Lord performance in
Yep.
one. Like, it is ridiculous how little effort is coming off of him during this entire movie. Almost none of his jokes, because he's the comic relief in this,
Of
much
course.
like he usually is. I had a chuckle at only one moment in this movie. It was the moment where they're in that like carnival thing, and the Funky Bunch comes on. He's like, "I am not dying to Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch." It made me chuckle a bit, and that's the only time. The rest of it, I was silent, stone faced, dead throughout the entire thing. It was just, I have more to talk about, but I was so unengaged with this movie. This is just. Let's talk about the budget. $320 million fucking dollars for this shit.
As someone said, you can make 54 Anoras or 52.
You can make 30 good independent movies with the amount of money that they spent on this one movie. The budget on Avengers Endgame was like $350 million, like production budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is only $30 million less than they spent on the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing, man? Like, seriously, this movie looked no better nor worse than like most of Netflix's movies, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, it's not a technically bad looking movie. The CG is, for the most
Yeah.
part, pretty good.
Yeah.
The robot CG
The
looks
robots
pretty
look
great. Yeah.
good. The robots do look very good. The climax looks fine. Very gray though. Just not very
The CG looks a lot better than the MCU lately.
true. Like, I'll give it that, but like was not. This is not nearly as impressive as some other movies that I've seen lately. Like last year, Dune Part 2 had like a $200 million budget, and it looks leaps and bounds better than
Yeah.
this.
Interstellar only had like
Oh
160.
my god, any Nolan movie with
Yeah.
a budget less than this looks infinitely better. It's just, where the hell did the budget go? Did it go to the stars?
Probably,
I mean,
yeah.
are they that expensive? Is Chris Pratt that expensive? Is Millie Bobby Brown that expensive? I don't know. Like, it's not a cheap looking movie, but it looks no more expensive than most of Netflix's movies, and it confuses me to no end.
A movie with
I don't get it.
a movie with a lot lower budget that came out in the last few years. I'm bringing this up for reasons you guys know already, because The Creator,
Oh,
Yes, that was what I was gonna bring up.
$80 million.
$80 million for that.
And it looks so much better.
Yeah, it does. Like, and Godzilla -1, which, as far as I know, had budget
Like
lower
15
than
million.
15 million.
Yeah.
Looks incredible. What the like?
The creator,
What
they
the
only
hell
used a $4,000 camera.
Yeah. Seriously, there's been a lot of talk in the past few years about overspending on movies.
Yes.
I cannot find a better example of that than this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I seriously can't. Like, the fucking what Brave New World, which I criticized a little bit of CGI with, that had almost like, I think it was like 180 million,
something like
maybe
that, yeah.
190. So a little over half the budget of this movie, and it looks no different. Like, it
Right,
honestly
yeah.
looks no different. It's so confusing to me. Like, what the hell? Oh my god.
I think people should get paid, but I'm wondering if actors are getting overpaid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, seriously. Like, yes, talent is incredibly important. Absolutely. I'm not saying it isn't, but
I'm gonna catch heat for this, but Robert Downey Jr. are getting $100 million for 2 movies.
It's crazy.
Yes,
It's insane.
That's batshit insane.
it is.
more than like most people will make in their most actors will make in their entire careers.
Yes. They're
I don't.
overspending on talent instead of focusing on the product.
Yep. And they're not going to make any of that money back. I
Nope.
mean,
No.
no matter how many people watch this movie on Netflix,
Yeah.
how are they going to get that back?
Right.
Like
By upping the monthly prices.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And you're still not gonna get it all back
Yeah.
and
because people
I
are gonna
just,
keep leaving Netflix.
Yeah.
The higher
the
the higher they
grind,
raise the streaming
the grind-
services.
the grind, as they call it,
Yeah.
getting on and getting off as soon as they're done with whatever.
Yeah.
It seriously, like I don't understand the appeal of this. I really don't. Like, it's just easy entertainment for the most casual, non-attentive viewer to just put on for background noise.
That's pure popcorn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a random schmo is just gonna put this on in the background while they're probably doing something else, and
It's content. It's not a movie.
yeah, that's
Which is where we're getting with a lot
yeah.
of stuff.
I'll let you guys talk more about this. I'm done for now. I'll talk a little bit.
I
I'll
got
interject.
yeah. I got one
occasionally.
thing I wanted to say before anybody else mentions it. There was an interesting character. And kind of I don't know how to put it. I guess a kind of mascot,
Are you talking about
Mr. Peanut.
Oh, Mr. Peanut. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what confused me when I first saw that picture of like Millie Bobby Brown in the fighting with Mr. Peanut. I was like, wait,
Woody Harrelson playing Mr. Peanut.
what? And what's that? Because it looks exactly like the mascot from.
It is.
It is the exact same
Yes.
thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what confused me. It was like, is this a movie where like a bunch of mascots are fighting?
See,
Like,
okay, yeah.
I
My thoughts going into this movie, I kept remembering the premise of that one Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode where all the mascots come to life
And
terrorize.
don't forget
Springfield.
the infamous animated film Food Fight.
Wait,
I don't know if
what?
you
I don't.
do
think
you not know about
no,
this.
I
I've
have
not heard
no
of
idea.
So, Food Fight, please look this up later. Classic animated film starring the likes of Charlie Sheen, Hilary Duff, and Chris Kattan. A movie that was started production in like 2002, but apparently by a unknown anime company. Like no one knows about this, but this anime company who was working on this in 2002, a bunch of the footage got stolen. And they never got it back.
Okay.
So years later, and I think that the movie came out in like 2012.
Jesus.
They just kind of started from scratch again, and it's basically an anime movie. It's like Toy Story or Wreck-It Ralph before Wreck-It Ralph, where it's just a bunch of grocery mascots in like a grocery. It is one of the worst things you'll ever see.
I need to see this.
Yes, please.
Ridiculous.
It's insane. It's so bad. But it's kind of fascinating. It has grocery icons like Mr. Clean and the Twinkie guy and
Okay, this is amazing.
it's not approved by any of these.
Yeah,
Yes.
figures, yeah.
Yeah, so don't expect that.
So it's like the animated movie of Super Smash Bros.
Except if it was animated by your like 15-year-old nephew on his on Adobe After Effects. Yeah, the animation is so shitty in it.
I'm gonna have to watch this.
Yeah,
For real.
it most of the movie is like kinky stuff, like with this one female character. This is a movie made for children, and it has like a woman who holds watermelons up to her breasts, like for real. And it's
We need to do a live reaction to this.
you might have to like it's crazy.
It's gonna be interesting watching John's reaction to this.
Yeah, I want to see. But anyway, so off food fight. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, is that in the comic, Mr. Peanut?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Because it kind of confused me. Like it was kind of jarring. Like because there's no. Well, there is one that giant robot that looks like Sonic a bit.
like the tall, like Felix the cat.
Yeah,
looking-
like
Yeah.
a blue
yeah.
hedgehog-looking thing. I was like, is that? It looks like Sonic. And it's like, I guess it's not supposed to be. And
No.
no one mentions that this Mr. Peanut thing is based on the peanut thing from that you find in the grocery store.
Well,
I don't know.
They keep calling him Mr. Peanut all throughout, and
Yeah.
the peanut mobile, the back of the seats say Planners.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
gotta be like
oh,
the official
yeah, yeah.
mascot.
What the fuck?
I'm kind of wondering.
It was so confusing. Like it honestly was. Like it. They don't explain it.
No.
Never. It was just. I don't know. Just why'd they make him that thing?
Well, I mean I think that it's the animatronics and the use of the animatronics here are really interesting to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
you know that the reason why we don't have more stuff like that in the movies because of they didn't want to pay for additional brands. But I'm kind of wondering, like the same thing.
Why
like,
the-
is
then
Mr.
why
Peanut
they
in the original one, or was it like a different mascot that got replaced?
And
by
does he
Mr. Peanut?
does he have a monocle?
Yeah, he it's like magnetic to his eye, and he like
Yeah.
moves it around all the time.
I'm wondering
I
if
don't-
it was a different like
Sword King,
Swedish
too.
mascot and they switched it to like an Americanized.
no
That's what
way.
I'm thinking too.
A Swedish mascot that looks exactly like the Planners?
No,
thing?
I'm saying like I'm wondering if they replaced him with a Swedish one to an American.
I don't know.
Yeah, for like
Mascot.
the American audience.
Yeah.
And stuff. Yeah.
Then why is only one of the? I'm genuinely curious about this. Like, why is only one of the robots like a mascot like that, and no one else is?
I think that it's literally just the licensing because it shows
Yeah.
that Walt Disney invented robots for his parks. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like the start of this entire thing. So you know that there's like an animatronic Mickey Mouse running around and Goofy and Daisy and all them. You know
Yeah.
that they're somewhere in this world.
that
we
would
just
probably
never see any
that
of
would have
them.
probably made this like Ready Player One or something.
Yeah.
There's an animatronic Winnie the Pooh running around with a knife and just
I'm sure there is.
blood and honey Robo Wars.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. I mean, Woody Harrelson, he's one of the only few like people in the movie that I feel like was trying to do something.
Yes,
Yeah.
And maybe
Uh,
it's just because I like Woody Harrelson.
Giancarlo.
I
was
got
mixed on his
nothing. I got
performance here.
nothing from him.
Okay.
He's one of the people in this I just felt like was completely I mean, literally phoning it in. He's most of the time he's on a fucking little
True,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah.
His face is on a screen. I don't know. Just
I don't know. I feel like
same thing with Brave New World. I just felt like these
Yeah.
two roles this year, like I got nothing from him, and he's an actor I love in almost anything.
I feel like the best performances were probably Woody and Kiki Kwan.
Ki Kwan, yeah. I mean, I thought honestly, I thought he was more passionate about his role in Love Hurts.
I still have
And,
not seen that. I wanna see it.
I need
The
to-
movie I actually didn't actually think was that bad, and I know it got a lot of bad reviews, but I had fun with it. I thought Ki Kwan usually, even if he's not in a good movie, he's usually the most energetic and lively
Yeah.
Yeah,
out of them. I mean, he was fine, and for what he had, he's not in the movie long. I don't know. It's not. He didn't really add anything to the movie for me.
I'm trying to see who the
Who was the other person you brought up? Besides Kiki.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. And then there was someone else too. Go ahead, Dylan. I'm trying to figure out who it was.
Well, I was gonna say this is. I think that it might just be because I haven't seen like his full repertoire or anything, but like this is actually one of my favorite roles from Woody Harrelson because it just differs from a lot of the stuff that I've seen from him.
I
Because
just
a lot
saw
of stuff
him.
that I've seen, he's been like a smart mouth who's trying to one up the other character in the room. A lot of the stuff that I've seen, that's the kind of character that he plays. Here,
I mean,
he plays a more like controlled and concise kind of leader type character. I really like
in
that.
bigger budget movies. That is typically what he's there for. But
Yeah.
like he has roles like his role in No Country for Old Men, where he's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just saw him in that movie Last Breath, which was the movie
I
about
want to
the
see that. Yeah.
great, really good movie, and he's very good. He has a lot of great emotional moments, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which he's also fantastic in.
Oh, I didn't know that he was in that.
No, he has a pretty big role in it. He's extremely good as he usually is. I love Woody Harrelson.
One of my
he's
favorite
great.
roles is Zombieland.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tallahassee.
Absolutely. That might be his most definitive role for me.
Time to nut up or shut
Time
up.
to nut up or shut up. Love him in that.
When they brought up the Twinkie in the mall, that
Yes,
was my immediate
yes.
Yeah,
thought. I
exactly.
was like so fucking funny.
The other character, Jenny Slate as Penny Pal.
Oh yeah, she was great.
fine.
Yeah.
She had some of the few moments of humor
Yeah.
that I
every moment with her, like I thought her performance was good, like her voice
yeah.
performance. All of her humor just completely fell flat for me. I
don't know.
like I said, one chuckle in the movie. That's it. None of the other humor in the movie worked at all. And this movie has Jason Alexander in it, who is one of my favorite TV characters of all time, with fucking George Costanza. He's the uncle, the guy in the tank top in the
Ted,
beginning.
the foster dad.
Yeah,
That shocked the hell out of me when
was
I
like,
saw him take off the
what a
headset.
waste of him. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. The Marky Mark joke, and then the other one was from Penny Pal. The part where she like goes, and he's like, "What does a male person need that for?" Dobermans.
Yeah. I
didn't find that very funny either.
I was just mortified and laughed at the same time.
know.
It's
Like,
like,
that's so fucked.
why are we ripping a dog's heart out?
Yeah.
It's like, this is my kind of humor.
Robots get tired of getting peed on, especially postbots.
From Transformers, where the dog's like marking his territory on Ironhide's foot.
Oh yeah.
That was like 80% of the humor in those movies was those fucking dogs.
Put
Especially
lubricant on my foot.
Especially the second one. Oh my god.
The second one's so bad.
I try not to bring
so
anything
bad.
up after the first one. So.
This movie's not Revenge of the Fallen level bad, but
No, it's not.
But this, I was just, like I said, I was just
It's so bland.
completely dead zoned out of this thing. Like I was watching it just for this. The only reason I watched it was for us to talk about it. Like that's, if I was watching this on my own, I would have checked out. Like I would have exited out of it like 5 minutes in. Like it is so generic.
Yeah. This is what I put on Letterboxd. Just one sentence that I put. Good CGI and a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Somewhat make up for an overly basic plot.
The most cookie cutter Star Wars thing, like Amblin movie level plot I've seen in years. Like this movie
They pull
is
from every
trying.
single movie.
It is
and-
trying to do what every Amblin movie, like E.T., all those Spielberg classics, of that era, and it never feels genuine to me. Like it never feels like it has that wonder to it that those movies do, because it just feels like it's aping off everything that those movies are doing.
Yeah.
And it's not, excuse me, it has no personality. These characters don't, I never felt chemistry between these characters.
No.
It just, most of the dialogue is just like exposition.
Yes.
Like characters explaining what's happening in the backstory of this world. The world sounds interesting.
Yeah.
The characters aren't. And it doesn't matter how interesting the world is, you need good characters to live in it. And they completely failed at that with this.
Maybe once they do the TV show, it will be better because they're
And
working on a TV show apparently.
Honestly,
That'd be
looking at the illustrations and reading up a little bit on the source material, the source material is supposed to be very gritty and kind of dark,
Yeah.
and that's not the tone that the movie is going for.
No,
And
it's
I
going
think
for a very Ready Player One
and
tone.
Yeah.
that was, I think that was one of their biggest mistakes. They were trying to do this super lighthearted, sentimental thing, and it feels so half-hearted. Honestly, if you got a different team working on this, if you got someone like, I know
Gareth
this
Edwards.
guy like Gareth Edwards, and this guy, I mean, this is a pretty like hit or miss guy when it comes to sci-fi, but Neil Blomkamp. Imagine if you
Oh.
got like a District 9 type of direction with this.
That
Like,
would've been
something
really
that
interesting.
would have been something. Like, I'm not saying it would have been great, but it would have been interesting. It would have been a little bit more outside the norm, and it would have probably been more respectful to the source material.
Yeah.
The emotional moments that this movie tries, just everything, like, I love Alan Silvestri is one of my favorite film composers of all time. Like, not just the Avengers, but Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, all those things. He's one of the all-time greats. His music is so overbearing throughout this entire thing. Like, everything is trying to get you excited, or is trying to make you like cry, or make you have like, is trying to force an emotional moment on you, and it just feels so hollow because these characters feel so underdeveloped and so stock. They're just archetypes. That's all they are. And I'm losing my mind.
Oh, no, I don't like the fact that they didn't really give anything like room to breathe. It
No.
was just like
Yeah.
bang, 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 bang,
Yeah,
bang,
just
we're done.
move from one moment to another.
It would have been better as a TV show.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it would have given them more time to like explore the world and the
Yeah.
characters, and just from the opening scene, when Millie Bobby Brown and her brother are talking, it's just like, this is not how people talk. Like, they're walking outside the school, and like they're talking about like sciencey shit like super quickly, and it's just like, I don't buy this for a second.
No.
None of this feels like normal people speak. It just, right from that moment, I was like, this movie is not going anywhere good, and it just continued to be so boring. Oh God. I don't know. And they try to force in so much information about this world in so little time, and it's just, I don't know. I felt numb by the end of this movie. I really did.
It was a lot to process. It was a lot, but it was also not a lot at the same time.
And all the forced music cues.
yeah.
I mentioned the
Marky
Funky
Mark,
Bunch one
yeah.
in the carnival scene, like that they use that one robot called Taco to like play all these and it's like, I don't care about these characters enough to get excited because they play to get ready for like the big
Don't Stop
climactic
Believin'.
it's like, and they start on like this piano version, they get this like swelling like orchestral Don't Stop Believing like version of that, and it was like, dude, are we real? It's like, you're trying to make us excited for something that you didn't fucking earn. Like, you didn't earn any of this bullshit. It's like,
They were riffing Guardians of the Galaxy for all that.
oh my God. A lot of movies do that
Yes.
nowadays, and it's so goddamn old and boring now. I'm so sick of that. Like, I'm kind of running out of stuff to say, but like, also, getting back to the cast, Stanley Tucci, one of my favorite actors, wasted. Another actor just completely wasted. I didn't recognize Anthony Mackie's voice as Herm. Or
Yeah, that threw me off a bit. I recognize like the pattern of speech and that was all.
intonation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
they raised his voice up, so
Yeah.
it was a little hard to tell that was Anthony Mackie.
Yeah.
And I mean, the only relationship like between characters that for me felt that I felt any kind of like chemistry with was Chris Pratt and
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that
that's what I was
robot.
gonna say.
And then they fucking ruined that at the end where they have this emotional moment that you think would be emotional for the character,
And then they turn into a
and
joke.
then they just turn it into a fucking Marvel joke.
Yeah.
Oh, that made me angry. It insulting. Like it was so insulting to
Look out,
me.
Dyllan,
Like
he's turning green.
That's my job.
yeah, just they the Russos really try, or McFeely and what's the other writers? Marcus and McFeely try to bring that kind of Marvel type humor into it. Doesn't work because we're not with those two Avengers movies. We had been those characters had been long established.
Yes.
We'd already loved them from the start, and so
I don't
you
think
know
Russos know how to.
they
write new
don't know how
characters.
to they don't know how to establish new characters.
Right.
They know how to work with already established characters. Like they before they got into the MCU, they did a lot of TV and they worked with that, and that's how they got to work on the MCU.
I think
They aren't good at establishing new characters for us to get invested with.
I
They
think
know how to work with they already know how to work with characters that we already know, but they don't know how to make us get to love and appreciate new characters.
Gray Man could have been good. It just wasn't. I think they could do like a James Bond or a Mission Impossible or a Bourne film and do halfway decent.
If
I don't
you
think
have
they'd
a
do
if
too
you
bad
have
on
a
those,
good
yeah.
if you have a really good set of writers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like I said, I wasn't expecting anything like mind blowing out of this movie, but I expected like something.
A decent
And this
movie yeah.
gave me nothing. Like it honestly gave me so little. Oh,
Do you have more thoughts, Dyllan?
Do you? Because I do have some.
Yeah, go for it, and I'll just see if I could think of anything
if
else.
you have any more like spoiler thoughts, which I honestly don't.
Well, I mean, we kind of hammered home a lot of the criticisms that that I personally had with the movie. That said, coming out of the movie, I left it with the same amount of entertainment that I was expecting going into it. I knew that it wasn't. I figured that it wasn't going to be an amazing movie. Just for the reasons that we said earlier, just like the previous track record of the Russo Brothers after Endgame. And I'm not the biggest fan of Millie Bobby Brown for the exact reasons we said earlier.
I really like her on Stranger Things,
Yeah.
and I have yet to see her in a movie that I'm very impressed with her with. Because
Yeah.
it just kind of, most of her roles kind of feel like semi-11-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one of the jokes that I'm mad didn't land very well was the what are you expecting? Herm to cram us all into that van, carrying us on his shoulder. It's
Yeah,
like, I
hate that fucking joke.
Well,
like
there's a way to do that joke well.
Yeah.
They did not execute it well.
it's so telegraphed from so far away.
Yeah.
Like that kind of joke where it's like, I'm not gonna do this thing. Cut quickly to them doing that thing. It's like that joke is like 50 years old at this point.
It's probably 70 at this point.
Oh god, that joke has been around since like the fucking 30s. I think.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, like with that said, I liked going through it. I liked. I will say I'm still not super impressed by Joe Russo's acting, but I also know that he just takes like the tiny little moments. And
yeah,
I liked what he
loves
did in Endgame,
he loves
but-
inserting himself into these movies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does.
And I saw a post about that thing today. I think it was like, remember when Endgame came out? It was like all this talk going in. It was like this was gonna be the first MC movie to have an openly gay character, and it's him. It's one of the
Yeah.
directors. So it's like you're just kind of patting yourself on the back there.
Well, the thing that makes me mad about that is that I might have misread something or might be misremembering it. But when they were writing it with the idea of somebody else playing that role. And then as they approached the day, they're like, yeah, we can't really get anybody that fits it well enough, so he stepped in and did it himself. Like you could have found somebody. Like you could have done anybody else really.
Yeah.
And you still chose to do that. Like I don't know. No, with all the flaws and criticism to be said about this movie, I felt myself be entertained by it. Again, it's not a phenomenal movie by any means. And I really do wish that it would have stuck a lot closer to the source material, just based off the stuff that we've been talking about, along with some of the stuff that I've heard. I will say some of the criticisms that I've been seeing about this is the well, we don't really sympathize or empathize with the characters very well. It's like that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Like they just aren't written too well, and just
It's
they
so
don't they
rushed.
they aren't given a whole lot of time for them to be their own characters. It's just like they're moving the narrative forward. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't be so big of an issue because I've seen a lot of movies that move really quickly, but have good characters in them. It wouldn't be as bad if they had chemistry with the other characters.
Yeah.
And they don't. They really don't. Like Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt really did not have chemistry together, in my opinion.
I kind of bring up that criticism because, like, as I was watching it, I definitely didn't care too much about what was going on with the human characters. But like once we got around to, it was called the X. Is that what it was called? Like that little like compound where they locked all the robots in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once we got around to that and we got to Blue Sky, I took a massive liking to the robot characters. I thought that there was a lot of charm with them. I thought we already said that they were beautifully animated, but I thought that there was a lot of charm there, and I really actually felt more for them than anybody else in the movie.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of
like the one
crazy.
robot that goes like hair.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like emotionally invested in that character, but it's like it was. I mean, it was really one of the only characters where I felt like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, there was actually one little background bit that I did laugh at during Blue Skies, and it was it was like right when they walk into like the food court. There's a billboard robot like standing off to like the left hand side of the screen, and it's standing next to another one. And the first one is like, "Go home, human scum," or something like that. And the other one says, "Take it easy, Jerry."
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, I didn't.
I thought that was kind of funny. And you see it still like throwing out insults for the humans like the rest of the scene.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like that.
It reminds me of the street signs from Doom Patrol.
Yeah. I love that shit.
Kind of reminds me of like Maximum Overdrive. Remember what?
I don't remember that movie.
There's a part
I don't
in the
think Stephen King
beginning,
does either.
the masterpiece of Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. There's a part in Maximum Overdrive near the beginning where it's like there's a building with like I think it was like a bank or a stock building or something, and it has those letters that scroll by.
Yeah.
And then in the letters, it just goes, "Fuck you all."
I'm gonna rewatch it again soon.
It's so funny. That movie gave me much more entertainment than this movie did.
I have 2 copies of it. What should I watch, the Blu-ray or the VHS?
VHS. I would go
For
VHS.
sure. Yeah.
Just watch 80s trash on VHS. What better combination?
Is there anything better?
No, absolutely not.
No, like I said, I came out of it with the amount of the same entertainment value that I was expecting to get out of it. Like I wasn't expecting anything amazing. Even though like the score was overbearing, I'm always gonna like Alan Silvestri's work. And honestly, I didn't even know that it was Silvestri until like halfway
like
through. I was
right
like,
from the beginning with like those soft like kind of like I'm not a music aficionado, like those soft like piano moments are like the
little trills.
Yeah. That's a very, I mean, that's a Silvestri thing that's in like almost every piece of music that he makes. Well, I mean, he always makes great music no matter what, but it's like music shouldn't be force the emotions of the scene. It's a good like addition to it.
Yeah.
And this just felt like it was pure, like the emotion.
It should accentuate the scene, not force the scene.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, I always try to view the score as its own character, and unfortunately, there aren't a lot of
A lot of it just felt like a lot of his. It felt like a greatest hits thing from him.
Yes,
like
agreed.
from the Avengers movies to Back to the Future to Ready Player One, because he did the music for that too.
Yeah,
I feel like Hans Zimmer's a composer that's fresh every time.
yeah.
Usually,
I do like that, yeah.
there's actually some music that he's done in some movies where like, really, Hans Zimmer did that?
Yeah.
But like he breaks it up a lot.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to the Dark Knight music to his Amazing Spider-Man music, sounds completely different.
Yes.
But both work.
Yeah.
Yeah. With this, it just kind of felt like stock like Alan Silvestri music, and that isn't backed up by any good character or story.
Yeah.
It was kind of like they were trying to make him work overtime to
Mhm.
like to compensate for a lot of the other stuff.
It's like they told him, the scenes aren't really working. Play the music up as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. I had a thought. If the Russos see this, they're gonna hate this, but I feel like it's just like Sci-Fi Channel, like basic,
Yeah. I completely agree.
like
in,
Borderlands.
terms of like the plot and the story,
Yeah.
like yeah,
It's
like,
just like a Dollar Tree
there's
version
nothing
of
to make this stand out.
right.
Yeah,
It's
agreed.
it's like a Dollar Tree version of like Ready Player One or whatever else.
Yeah,
They
it's
just
like
take basic main
they
sci-fi points
take
and throw
like
it together.
stuff from E.T. to like
Yeah.
District 9 to Ready Player One, and they just put it into a blender, but didn't add anything else to it.
I feel like it's similar to Borderlands in that way.
Yeah, totally. Like it's
Just very low effort sci-fi.
point A to point B.
Yeah.
And do nothing interesting with it. That like shove it out the door.
I did enjoy Borderlands, but
I mean, but you have to realize
Yeah,
that
it's
the
not a good movie.
faults
Yeah.
of
yeah,
that.
it's not a good movie. It's just I like the type of movie it is.
Hardcore sci-fi fans might enjoy it, but like,
Yeah.
what about I like sci-fi when it's good.
Yeah.
It's not my preferred genre of choice.
Right.
I need something more than just the standard.
Right.
I need something a little meatier to it, and
Yeah.
this had nothing. It does make me interested to check out like the graphic novel or the comic book.
agreed. Yeah, same.
It does make me want to look more into that and read
I
it.
was looking. I can't
'Cause
find it anywhere.
It does have a pretty, I mean, it's not a huge fan base, but it does have a pretty passionate fan base behind it and the illustrations are fantastic.
Well, I mean, the fan base is probably going to grow after this. It's just,
Who-
it's not from like a source of love. It's probably going to be more a source of I was not a fan of the movie. I
Oh,
need
God,
to see what's going
yeah.
on.
Yeah. I mean, it usually is like that when a failed movie adaptation comes out. Like, the people will be interested to look and read and go into the source material. I
Yeah.
mean, movies like Aragon, for example. I don't know why Aragon I don't know why that came to mind, but it is a good example of that. It's like the movie sucked, the novels are good. It's like, yeah.
From what I can gather, it is out of print, so you'd have to buy it like used on eBay. It's around $35 though, if anyone wants to check it out.
Probably find it on like archive.org or something.
Probably, yeah.
I'm sure. Because the story, not in this movie, but like of like where the story came from sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I'd much rather,
It could have been a good story.
yes, if they just fucking
Executed it right, yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. If they didn't just use a fucking cookie cutter to write the script.
Yeah. Because how many different movies did they pull from? Pacific Rim, E.T.,
Yeah,
Ready Player
but-
One.
District 9 a little bit.
Yeah.
Actually, no, not. I would say Elysium.
Yeah.
Elysium, because Elysium has like more robots. And
Guardians
stuff
of
like
the
that.
Galaxy a bit.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, Chris Pratt in this literally the most stock Han
Yeah.
Solo type character you could have possibly found
Yep.
or possibly written.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that just made me think. Another joke that I felt like was severely overplayed throughout the movie was how fucking hungry he was.
Dude, oh my god, I totally agree. Like, dude, shut up. It's not funny.
Yeah, I I just the entire rant about not wanting to eat the candy bars that were in the crate or whatever. Oh, they're collector items. I'm not gonna eat the product. Blah
Yeah,
blah 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 blah.
That was
dude.
Star-Lord to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, every time he yells in the movie, I just got so annoyed. Like, it never felt like the character was doing it because that character would do it. It just felt like this character needs a quirk.
Yeah.
That's
agreed.
a quirk. It's not.
It sounded like
doesn't make a
Star-Lord getting angry.
character. Yeah, just. Ugh. It's like, yeah, you're not Zombieland. You don't get to have your Twinkie moment in this and without earning it.
Well, he kind of had a Twinkie moment, kind of.
What
but
was
only like
that?
on page.
Yeah.
Just the moment where he like swiped up some of the beans on the plate with the Twinkie and shoved it in his mouth.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it was.
that was like right before they left the mall.
It was literally a 3-second scene.
Yeah. It was the one
fuck.
where
It was a throwaway more than anything.
yeah, like they walked into the burger shop. He was like, do you got like a what do you say, like a burrito? No, we don't got burritos. We're fresh out of that. We got cheeseburger and fries though. Okay, I'll take that. All right, I got more bad news. We're out of that. And then it was the Twinkie and beans.
Yeah.
The only way that that whole thing with his character would have worked and would have worked amazingly if in the climax of the movie he turned into Pac-Man from Guardians 2. I mean, it would have been stupid, but it actually would have went somewhere.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if nobody else has thoughts, we'll just talk about the ending real quick. Like,
Yeah. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
they found out. She found her brother alive.
Yeah.
They had transferred his consciousness into Cosmo. Hey, are you good?
That you just remind me of another point that I want to make. But continue.
They transferred his consciousness into Cosmo, but they made it symbiotic, so he was in their computer, and the computer was in him. So the moment they shut the computer down, they'd have to pull the plug on him, life support. So she ends up using a neurocaster to go in and talk to him, and he tells her to pull the plug. And then they went on essentially the exact same monologue as the end of Ready Player One.
Yeah.
It was almost the exact same thing about we need human connection.
Just embrace human connection.
Yeah.
God, it felt so forced.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of it
Yeah.
at all.
They ripped that from Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
And I don't think like Ready Player One is like a masterpiece or anything.
It is.
I mean, but it's a fun movie. Like
yeah, it's a great ride.
For me, it did enough to like justify. It was like, okay, this works. They did enough to make it work as a movie. And I mean, when Spielberg's doing it, and the technology that he showed in the movie was impressive.
We
like
have the
visual effects
technology
and all that. And even though it was a lot of like IP, like masturbation and all that stuff with like, I mean, it was basically.
Yeah, I know,
but they
you're
did
right.
fun stuff with it. I mean, that Shining scene, for example.
Yeah.
I remember that was one of my favorite scenes seeing in a theater. That I just kind of like glowed when I first saw that.
Wait, the scene in the house or the scene where Chucky shows up?
No, I love the Chucky scene too.
No, the entire Shining level.
Okay,
no,
yeah.
when they go in the Shining, like
Effing
stuff
Chucky.
like. It's fucking Chucky. That I
We
love
got
that
one
scene.
of those moments toward the end of this movie too, where
Which-
the little like the honey bear robot is running around like stabbing people in the neck.
Honestly, this movie left so little impression on me. I forgot about that.
That
seem
was
to
like
forgot
the
half
first
the
thing that came to mind.
I'm serious. When a movie is that bland and forgettable, I forget about it so quickly.
What was that last point you wanted to make, Dyllan?
Well, I was just gonna say there were like we said, the writing wasn't great here. But one of the
No.
biggest issues I had was the plot hole of he didn't need the ventilator. He didn't need to be
No.
on life support or anything.
No.
And then by the end of it, they're like, oh, if you unplug me, I'm gonna die. And it's like, that's not fucking true. We've already seen that. Like, I don't.
Unless they had done like further experiments on them that they just never told us.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where it's like,
It's
if
a
they
plot
did
hole.
do that, yeah, it's a plot hole because
Yeah.
they didn't say anything else about it.
Yeah.
They show the fact that that Kiki Kwan's character tried covering up the fact that Christopher was alive and able to operate on his own. He wasn't comatose anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to hide that, and then they didn't bring up anything else about it, about the fact that his body was still alive.
Right.
Nothing. And then at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, no, as soon as this stuff goes down, I go down with it, so you just need to pull the plug. It's like, no, that doesn't have to happen. Like I just...
Yeah, it must have happened off script, and they forgot to tell us about it.
Yeah, like that kind of thing needed to be said when you show some a piece of information like that early on.
They experimented on something, just even a line like they
Yeah.
experimented. So now I can't live without this.
Yeah, I don't know. That was one of the things that really pissed me off. With
Yeah,
the
that was a
movie.
glaring
It was
issue.
just I mean, the acting in that scene between them when they're trying to when they're saying goodbye to each other. I mean, it's one of the more well acted parts in the film,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I just didn't.
It was
care.
enough to get me.
I just didn't fucking care at that point.
Then again, what doesn't get me?
Yeah.
No, I was entertained by it, but this is a deeply flawed movie. It's a massive bummer that it was that way. It's a massive bummer that
And
they
again-
didn't keep to the same tone as the source material and everything. I
It
don't know.
would have been better as a miniseries.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see
Or-
myself ever rewatching this. But
This
maybe
could
I
have
will
worked
at
as a
some point.
movie if they just went with a different approach, or they just
Yeah.
went with a different set of creatives behind it. Because I'm getting so sick of that kind of Amblin throwback type of movie
Mm.
where it's throwing back to movies from the 80s and the 90s. I'm getting tired of it. I really am. And this is probably one of the worst examples of it
Yeah.
of recent. It was just God, can you guys try to do something new with this other than just try to milk it for nostalgia?
Nostalgia is almost becoming like a swear word.
Yeah.
It really is. When movies like this give it a bad name.
Yeah.
Because this movie has the aesthetic of a movie like E.T.
Yes.
Or a movie like I don't know, any of those movies
Yeah.
that we love from that time period, but it has none of the heart.
Ever since
It has
Ready Player
none of the
One came
soul.
out, there's so many copies.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
I'm done.
Are we
I'm
ready to get a
done.
rating?
Yeah,
All right.
this gets a 3 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
And that's me being generous because I genuinely hated almost every minute of this movie. Because on technical level, this isn't a bad movie. It has good special effects, and it for the most part it looks fine, I guess. But just I felt nothing coming from it.
Yeah, I get that. When I originally rated it on Letterboxd immediately after I watched it, I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because I was entertained by it, and I tend to overlook the flaws and everything when I give my score, obviously. But honestly, I think that I could bump it down to a 3.5 out of 5.
We did the exact same thing.
Wait,
That's what
for
I was
real?
gonna. Yeah, I have it marked as a 4, but I'm bumping it down to a 3.5.
Yeah, I just
This might be my least favorite movie I've seen this year, honestly.
I wouldn't blame you for that. This is
Yeah.
The Wolfman is mine so far.
I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is of the movies I've seen this year. I've seen maybe 15 or something like that. This is easily the one that I just felt the most numb to. I've genuinely felt nothing from it. And that's the worst type of movie to me, where it's it's not the movie that has the most technical problems. I've seen a lot of movies have that, but still have things I enjoy about it. The Flash, for example. I know it's not a good movie, really, but they did enough fun stuff in it, despite the bad CG and the stuff with Ezra and all that stuff. It still had enough of that kind of creative energy to it, because I like Andy Muschietti as a director. It had enough of that to where I wasn't watching it hating myself. or I wasn't watching it just dead-eyed. Movie experiences like I had watching The Electric State are the worst to me, where I feel nothing. And that's not what I want to have when I watch any movie.
You'd rather feel hatred than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd rather be a movie like Amelia Perez, for example, a movie I hated. I absolutely hated. Is a movie that did get an emotion out of me.
Yes.
Like I was cringing through a lot of it, but I was still interested to see what they were gonna fuck up.
Yeah. Like what's coming next?
Yeah. This, I was not interested in any of it, and that's the worst type of movie experience for me. So yeah, I'm done. Russo's, you're 3 for 3 in terms of bad movies for me.
Yeah,
I'm really nervous about Doomsday and Secret Wars now. I genuinely am.
I'm curious to see how Secret Wars goes, because they said Endgame was an ending movie, and Secret Wars is a beginning movie.
No, well,
I mean,
with
see.
all the rumors that we've heard about everything after Secret Wars, or that everything that might come after Secret Wars, I could see what they're pulling off with that, with it being like the beginning, because it's supposed to be like the reset
The
of the
MCU
universe.
needs to look way different after Secret Wars. It
Agreed.
has to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It has to. I mean, because I don't know a lot about what happens in the story, but like I know that, you know, the universe after the events of the Secret Wars in the comics, everything is different after
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
Want to take us home?
We thank you for watching this. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and if you love to hear us rave, check out more. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. You can watch the episode on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify. We got a lot of good stuff coming soon. We've actually got a lot of good stuff that we can't even say yet. But we hope you check out more of our episodes, and we hope you have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We have been the Cinema Asylum Podcast. You guys were awesome. Thanks for coming out. Good night.